Next, let's look at a few OR questions to solve. For an OR inequality, remember that we just took any shading from either of the solutions and put those together. So in terms of solving these, you're going to just treat it as like two separate mini problems. So let's start with 3x plus 1 is less than 4. We're going to solve for x by subtracting 1 from both sides and then dividing by 3. Copy the word OR, and then now we've got 2x minus 5 is greater than 7. We're going to solve for x first by adding 5 to both sides and then dividing both sides by 2. So my final algebraic answer is x is less than 1 or x is greater than 6. In terms of graphing that, remember you need to have your cutoff points as well as a few points in each of the sections of the number line, to the left, to the right, and in between. And for an OR question, remember you take each of them sort of separately. So here is x is less than 1, and here is x is greater than 6. And this is not an AND question, so we're not looking for overlap. We're just taking both of these pieces and putting them both onto the same number line. Again, sort of like there's kind of a normal answer for an AND question where it's shaded in between. For OR questions, where you have this like shading on the outside and the in-between part is the blank part, this is what 99% of your OR problems are going to look like, where your number line is split up into 3 parts and then you end up shading on the outer left and rightmost part and not in the middle. But let's look at one where it comes up a little bit unusual. So we'll start the same way. We'll start by solving for x. In this one, we'll add 5 to both sides and divide by 6. Copy the word OR, and then solve the other one as well. For the other equation, we'll subtract 1 from both sides and divide by 8. So algebraically, our answer would be x is less than 2 or x is greater than negative 3.25. We're going to put these onto our number line. And we'll kind of estimate approximately where negative 3.25 would be. Graph them both separately, so x is less than 2 would look like this, and x is greater than negative 3.25 would look like this. OR means any number on the number line where you have either of the coloring, and that actually in this one ends up being every single number. There's not a single number on this number line that's not either shaded orange or blue. Sometimes it's even both. So for this one, we're going to shade the entire number line, and actually our final answer switches from this to all real numbers because every number ends up being shaded. Now, just one quick side note about some of the more unusual things that could happen. We're going to look at what might happen for an AND question versus an OR question. So here are the possible outcomes. You can have a set of rays that go in opposite directions. For an and problem, that overlap would be in the middle. That would be your answer. If this was an or question, where the rays went in opposite directions, then everything is shaded. And you've got a number line with every single point shaded, and that's all real numbers, kind of like the last example we just did. Another thing that could happen is the rays could be going in opposite directions, but there would be no overlap. So there's like a hole in between them. When that happens for and, there's no overlap, so you're going to end up having this blank number line with nothing shaded, and there'd be no solution. For an or question, that's kind of the normal or situation, where you'd have something that looks like that. And then your final answer would just be those two pieces together. Another thing that could happen is your rays could be going in the same direction. So let's try an example that might look like that. If your rays are going in the same direction, maybe they overlap, maybe they don't. So let's look at first if they do overlap. So then your and question, where these two rays overlap, would be from here and over, and you would just get a single ray for your answer to your and question. But for or, you're taking any coloring at all. So you're actually taking basically the red ray would be your answer for an or question, because you want any coloring at all, not just overlap. So this is the same as the red one, whereas for the and, this is the same as the blue one.